I'm pretty sure that that is the most winnable 4-0 loss that I have ever seen. At least from the Kraken anyway. What's cracking, everybody, and welcome back to Kraken R&R, where the Seattle Kraken do end up losing, yes, 4-0 to the Edmonton Oilers, the mightily struggling Edmonton Oilers, who are largely mightily struggling because they've given up tons and tons of goals through their patented lack of wanting to play defense, and also now some pretty poor, or porous, however you want to look at it, goaltending. They've been giving up one of the most goals in the league of any team, and the Kraken just got shut out by them. It is also now the second time in 3 games the Kraken have gotten shut out, having gotten shut out at the end of the road trip against the New York Islanders. Though, at least with that game, it's a little bit more understandable. The Islanders are a team that actually shows some desire to play defense at times, and they've also been getting pretty good goaltending over the course of the season. But in this game, there's really no excuse for the Kraken to not score even once. I mean, really, if we're being honest, there's no excuse for the Kraken not to have scored 2 or at least 3 times in this game. To be clear, the reason that I'm saying that this was the most winnable 4-0 loss that I've ever seen from the Kraken, and that's including a couple of 4-0 losses to really bad, intentionally trying to lose San Jose Sharks teams over the last few years. I mean, yeah, those ones going in, you probably had a little bit more of an expectation to win than against an Oilers team that, even if they're struggling, they're still a very talented team. This game, the Oilers just did not look good. So for the Kraken, when I'm saying that this was a very winnable loss, it's not because I think the Kraken played well enough to win. It's because they were given more than enough opportunities to win, even with giving up the 4 goals. Though, at least 2 of those we'll talk about as a big reason why they did end up losing. But you know what, actually, with that having been said, let's just jump right into the game and get to the first of those 2 goals. Although, actually, we should probably, before we get into the game, mention the 2 big roster changes for the Kraken leading into this game. On the not-so-great end, Jaden Schwartz out, it sounds like 6-ish weeks with a lower body injury, so the Kraken just cannot stay healthy. Just as they get McCann back, they lose Schwartz. But they did, on the good side of things, get Capo Caco back for this game. So one guy to IR, or soon to be IR, and one guy off IR, and they just got McCann back. Overall, I guess they're technically getting healthier, but they keep losing key pieces, with Schwartz being one of the team leaders in goals and points at the moment. Anyway, getting into the game, where that is still not enough of an excuse for what happened as far as the Kraken offense is concerned in this one. They do come out into this game getting pretty hemmed into their own end right out of the gate. The Oilers getting lots of chances in on the Kraken net. Leon Draisaitl in particular getting absolutely robbed on 2 occasions by Decord. One in particular was an absolutely incredible save from Decord that he barely keeps it from going over the line with his glove and has to kind of pull it off of the line, even inside the netting of his glove. Draisaitl, at first I thought Draisaitl was just pointing to Decord to, say, hey, that was an incredible save, good job. But I think he was actually pointing because he thought that Decord's glove might have gone over the line after catching the puck. The refs did actually take a little bit of a look at it, an official review, so not a review or, not a replay review that the Oilers asked for. It was done by the league, so they take a few minutes. They do uphold the call on the ice. Or, I mean, they don't say anything, but obviously the call on the ice was no goal. They took a second with the headphones and decided not to change it. But anyway, even with that extra review from the officials, the save from Decord stands. The Kraken survive thanks to Decord, that early press by the Oilers, who get the first 5 shots on goal, I'm pretty sure it was. They outshot the Kraken pretty healthily throughout most of the first period. And that's even with the Kraken starting to turn things around after this Decord save. Get a couple chances in on Edmonton's net. Nothing especially dangerous. That is another big complaint of the Kraken offense in this game, is that although they do end up by the end of it getting credited for, depending on where you look, right around 3 expected goals in this game, I'm not really sure where they're getting the 3 expected goals. I think there's probably about 2 expected goals from the Kraken. They did have a couple of very good chances. I think really just the 2 good saves, I would say, from Skinner in this game. For the most part, the Kraken were just shooting it right into his chest all night long. They were getting some open looks, and even ones that expected goals models will look at as far as the shot location and say it was a potentially dangerous shot, but they're about the most telegraphed shots you'll ever see, and not one-timers off of passes. And even if they were a one-timer off of a pass, it was so telegraphed that Skinner didn't really have to respect a shot coming from where the pass comes from, so he can just play the guy that ends up taking the one-time shot, and that's how the pucks just end up right in his chest. And there were a couple of a couple of times the Kraken were able to get net front and deflect shots in, and those just happened to hit Skinner. The Kraken weren't really getting bounces either, but he still, I think, just made the two particularly good saves in this game. Honestly, I don't think Skinner looked especially sharp in this game, but he just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and, well, at the end of the day, that's the gig. Two good saves, and the Kraken didn't really make him work too much more than that, even with for the Kraken, fairly above average number of shots on goal. Which, getting back to the flow of the game, even though the Kraken do end with the 26 shots on goal, they only have 2 when they get their first power play of the game, nearly at the midway point of the first period. And it's a power play that does get some chances. They get 2 more shots on net and a few more shot attempts. Again, shots that are at least relatively close to the net and fairly open. So the Oilers' penalty kill, at least this first time around, not looking especially strong. They're giving the Kraken opportunities, but the Kraken just aren't able to make quick decisions with the puck. And like I was saying, they're not really making it that hard for Skinner to read the play. I mean, based on how his season has gone, it seems like he's having a hard time reading just about any play, but in this particular case, he was at least making the easy reads he needed to. The Kraken not making it that hard to make those reads, and he was in the right spot for the shots that end up on him. The Kraken come up empty on that power play, and that would be the big theme of the night. Well, that and what happens immediately afterwards, when it's Marchment that goes to the box for a goaltender interference call, which is the worst call of the season so far, at least in a Kraken game anyway. There's probably been worse calls across the NHL, but as far as a Kraken game is concerned, there is absolutely no doubt that this is the worst call either way in a Kraken game this season. It's just not goaltender interference. Marchment does, yes, hit Skinner, but he gets pushed full on into Skinner. He is turning away from, he's not even going to go inside the crease. He's turning away at the top of the crease after getting the puck towards the net, and 2 Oilers just converge on him and push him, hit him into Skinner. I suppose as far as they're concerned, Skinner has not been that useful this season, so maybe he can just be useful by pushing guys into him so you can draw power plays, which has been the one thing the Oilers have been very good at this season. It makes sense considering the offensive talent they have. And sure enough, the combination of that dangerous Oilers power play, thanks to this gift of a power play that they're getting, and also the terrible Kraken penalty kill, leads to the most predictable power play goal that you're going to see. And it's somewhat similar to how we've seen the Kraken give up power play goals all season long to opposing teams. They do a decent job for the first minute or so, and then eventually they get hemmed into their end, can't get a clear, and just allow the opposing team to slowly work them into the middle of the ice. And yeah, they're taking away the front of the net and the slot, but everything outside of the slot is wide open, and it's a quick tic-tac-toe pass. McDavid from down by the low face-off circle up into the slot, and then back down to the side. Decor doesn't have a chance. The puck's in the net. It's a power play goal for the Oilers, and a 1-0 lead on, again, an absolutely terrible call, which I would be a lot more frustrated with if the Oilers, if this had been a deciding goal in the game, if this had really ended up making any, maybe it makes a difference in how the rest of the game plays out, but based on how the Kraken played the rest of the game and the chances that they would get, I don't think we can say that this goal really made a significant difference, even though it should never have happened. And I can say that more than confidently, not just because the final score is 4-0, so obviously the one goal doesn't end up making that much of a difference in the grand scheme. Obviously the Kraken don't score at all, so any one of the 4 goals is all that it would have taken for the Oilers to win this game, but also because not 6 minutes after the Oilers score this power play goal, the Kraken are going to get not 1, but 2 more chances on the power play, overlapping for just about the entire time. So that's almost 2 full minutes. In fact, I think it was about 1 minute and 47 seconds, something like that. So yeah, just about 2 full minutes of 5-on-3 that the Kraken get against a below average power play. Not nearly as bad, or penalty kill, I should say. Not nearly as bad as the Kraken penalty kill, mind you. They're still 78% on the kill to Kraken's 71, which still seems high, and will go back below 70, I think, after this game. But this is not an Oilers team that plays defensively well, no matter how you shake it on the penalty kill at 5-on-5. Whatever the situation, they're not good at defense. The Kraken have a 2-man advantage for nearly 2 minutes. This goal should be automatic. And yet the Kraken, even with the 2-man advantage, just go right back to slowly passing the puck around the outside, get a few more shots on goal, but don't really even try any sort of quick passing play to shake Skinner up, really make Skinner think at all, or try and get Skinner to commit to one side and then get a pass across to the other for an easy goal. You know, the type of stuff that you would see just about any other team try on a two-man advantage power play. Use those two extra guys to make those passes, the quick passes that make the goaltender move side to side and often lead to those easy goals. The Kraken just don't do it. They continue to do the same type of stuff they do on the normal power play. The slow passes around the outside, making it very easy for Skinner to be set up for any shot that does end up on net. The Kraken completely squander that chance, and we get to the first intermission with the Oilers still leading by 1 because the Kraken just couldn't convert, never mind on the 5-on-3, but on any one of the 3 power plays they got against a below average penalty kill. And oh, by the way, as if that wasn't enough, the Kraken already having failed on 3 power plays, they get another chance after a tripping on Riker Evans in the final seconds, means that they'll start the second period with still another minute and 40 of a 4th power play. A 4th power play, by the way, that they do, again, pretty much nothing with. And then we get into the meat of the second period where the Oilers, who have already been sloppy and undisciplined all game long, they still have a 1-0 lead because the Kraken are completely incapable of taking advantage of any of that sloppiness or lack of discipline. The Kraken are going to get more lack of discipline from the Oilers because they are entirely focused on Mason Marchment. And that's because, well, it was earned. Marchment, late in the first period, lays a hit on Darnell Nurse that is, I've seen even non-Kraken fans defending it as a clean hit online, and I personally I have to disagree. I mean, I know Oilers fans, if there's any Oilers fans watching this, will say that it's one of the dirtiest hits they've ever seen, which is also a bit of an exaggeration, but it's definitely a late hit from behind. It's after, I mean, Nurse did have the puck down in the corner in the Kraken end before he takes this hit, but he had gotten rid of the puck. It had been at least a full second before the puck was clear to the other side down behind the Kraken net, and Marchment comes up from behind, gets Nurse up high, not in the head. I don't think he hit him in the head, but his helmet does come off, so it makes it look a lot more spectacular. And obviously a helmet comes flying off after a big hit. You automatically assume that it was a hit to the head. Either way, Nurse ends up being fine. He gets right to his feet, and Marchment, who's coming down the ice, refuses to drop gloves with, I think it was Henrique that gets right up in his face and tries to fight him. They don't call Henrique for an instigating, which in normal circumstances they might have done, but I think they kind of felt like they missed a call with what could have been. Maybe they let Marchment get away with what definitely should have been interference, or it probably should have been some kind of penalty on that hit, because of the absolutely horrible call they made on the goaltender interference. And now Marchment's refusing to drop gloves after a hit that, typically the way hockey works, that's a hit where you kind of have to answer for it because it's definitely a late hit. Like if it's a clean hit, I mean, a big clean hit like that, you usually will get an opposing team trying to make you answer for it. In that particular case, I think Marchment does the right thing by not taking the puck away from his team by going and doing a fight, as the Kraken are getting a rush chance offensively the other way. But yeah, it's a bit cowardly to not answer for what was definitely a late hit to Nurse. Anyway, with all that being said, that happens late in the first. Marchment is more than willing to run his mouth at the Oilers bench, at Nurse, at just about anybody that will listen. I mean, they're definitely egging it on a bit, but as we get into the second period, then the Oilers are still waiting for Marchment to respond. I mean, Nurse and Marchment are jawing at each other at the opening faceoff of the second period. They're jawing at each other and faceoff in the offensive end as the Kraken are on the power play. Obviously, Marchment is not going to drop gloves during a Kraken power play, but they are both on the ice, Nurse and Marchment, both on the ice on the first shift after this 4th Kraken power play comes up empty. Still, Marchment won't fight, and at that point, you know it's not going to happen. Marchment is not going to be fighting in this game. If he was going to own up to it and take the fight with Nurse, he would have done it there at that point. He doesn't, and so we head into the rest of the second period where, again, like I said, the Oilers seem, at least for the time being, single-mindedly attention on trying to get retribution for that Marchment hit, which, with Marchment not wanting to drop the gloves, means that they are, I mean, they're definitely cued in on 27. Anytime he's on the ice, they're going after him. But when he's not on the ice, they're also willing to throw an extra hit here and there. Berkeley Catton takes a pretty big hit that I don't think he probably would have taken otherwise. Montour gets involved in a little bit of extracurriculars as well, but it's definitely Marchment that they're most cued onto, and that becomes incredibly obvious, the lack of any kind of discipline that the Oilers seem to really care about. All they really care about is the retribution. as after Marchment gets rid of a puck down along the boards into the offensive end, or actually it might have been back up along the boards the other way, he fails to keep a puck. 2 Oilers converge on him, the second one being Leon Draisaitl, who comes in with an elbow high that kind of gets Marchment in the shoulder. Doesn't really hit him that hard. It's a bit of a whiff from Draisaitl, but he's not going to be denied. So as that's starting to break up, Draisaitl whips around with the elbow the other way and catches Marchment right in the ear. Marchment does play it up a little bit, acts like he just got shot in the side of the head, which, I mean, it's still an elbow to the head, a full-on swinging elbow to the head. I think it's somewhat a little bit fair to have a strong reaction to it. It does draw the call, so Marchment puts the Kraken back on another power play. His shenanigans, his whatever you want to call it, the way that he's decided to go about this of refusing to fight after the hit that he laid on Nurse turns out to at least work out for the Kraken in the grand scheme of giving them opportunities to score, because the Oilers, who can't stay disciplined, give him another chance, or give his team another chance on the power play, which again the Kraken midway through the second are unable to do anything with. It's a 5th failed power play for the Kraken. And then not long after Draisaitl comes out of the box, I don't think it was on the same shift where he comes out of the box. I do think he goes to the bench and then comes out not long after that for his shift, which does last quite some time. But it's a sloppy play from the Kraken in the neutral zone, who, I mean, talk about playing down to an opponent. The Oilers were every bit, again, the sloppy team that has gotten them to this 500 record that they came into the game with, 25 points in 25 games. The Kraken, who just played a very strong game against a very good Dallas Stars team and nearly took it to overtime, they played the Stars so tight, have now, I mean, they just look like they're trying to match the Oilers' bad pass for bad pass, sloppy puck thrown to nobody for sloppy puck thrown to nobody. In this particular case, it's Beniers who just drops the puck in the neutral zone. Draisaitl picks it up the other way. It's kind of a 3-on-2, a broken 3-on-2. Beniers almost gets back, but it ends up with a pretty clean shot for Draisaitl right in the middle of the slot, and he beats Decord. You give one of the best players in the world that clean of a look for honestly the 3rd time in the game. Eventually he's going to score, and he does here to give the Oilers the 2-0 lead. A 2-0 lead, which the Kraken have a little bit of a response shift to, but nothing that notable. Again, not really making Skinner work that hard. And then it becomes 3-0 when late in the period, the Kraken send the Oilers to their second power play of the game. It's Adam Larsson cross-check in the back as he's standing in front of the Kraken net. It's about as textbook of a cross-check as you're ever going to see. Saw it happen, and I knew immediately that it was going to get called, or at least it should get called, and sure enough, the arm goes up in the air. Larson heads to the box as soon as the Kraken touch up, and this one, the Kraken aren't even able to kill off the first minute well before the Oilers do end up scoring. It's a power play, by the way. If the Kraken had killed off the first minute, they could have easily gotten this to intermission. It was going to be one of these power plays that's interrupted by intermission, so if the Kraken had done their normal thing and killed off the first half of it, they probably could have killed off the whole thing with the help of the intermission, breaking up some of that momentum, but they're not able to do that. Within seconds, the Oilers are able to score, and this one is a bit of a bad bounce. It's a shot from around the face-off circle by Draisaitl, circling with the puck that just goes off the skate of Hyman in front of the net and through Decord's legs. As Decord, it's a shot pass to the far side. I mean, maybe Draisaitl was trying to get it to Hyman in the low slot, but he puts it in Hyman's feet, and Decord, getting ready to play what he thinks is a pass to the back door, is pushing across. The puck goes off Hyman's skate, who didn't even know where it was. He, I'm sure, felt it hit his skate, but then he's looking around for it, and it turns out it is through Decord and into the net for the second power play goal for the Oilers, as they go 2 for 2 on the night on power plays. And the Kraken, as we get into a third period, where the Oilers would make it 4-0 on a McDavid play that's just, again, it's Decord trying to be the hero. A broken play for the Kraken defensively means the Oilers have a bit of numbers coming back. He knows that Hyman is on the far side, so he's got to be ready for a pass, and the Oilers have shown that they're pretty pass happy to try and get that puck to the far side. In this particular case, though, Decord playing for the pass leaves up too much room on the near side for McDavid, and you can't give the best player in the world that much space to shoot at on the near side. He's given that space, and he puts the puck into it to give them the 4-0 lead. And then a couple of minutes later, or as we get into the back half of the third, the Kraken get a sixth chance on the power play, which now down 4-0 with 7 minutes, I think it was, left. Even if you score here, it's a pretty meaningless goal. At the very least, I suppose maybe it wakes some life up into this power play that is now, I think, 0 for the last 14. They're 0 for 11 in just the last 2 games. They went 0 for 5 against the Stars, and then they go 0 for 6 in this game, as they aren't even able to get the meaningless to the scoreboard, but maybe meaningful in just getting some momentum going for your power play. They can't make that happen. They go 0 for 6 on the night, while going 0 for 2 as far as killing penalties for the Oilers are concerned. So in 8 combined attempts, the Oilers do exactly what they want, with all 8 of those killing 6 power plays for the Kraken and scoring twice on their power plays, and the Kraken get the bad end of every single power play in this game, again, including 2 overlapping ones for 1 minute and 47 seconds. And so with that from the Kraken, a last whimper on the power play, and then a few more tries later after the power play comes up empty to try to break up the shutout. One more good save from Skinner. One of his 2 good saves comes late here in garbage time. The Kraken still end up falling 4-0 in this game, in a game where they were given, honestly, more than 4 chances to score. Even with the 2 power play goals that they give the Oilers, it's a very good Oilers power play, but to make it that easy for them twice in a row, and yeah, one of them comes on a bad bounce, but you can't convince me that the Kraken were anywhere near guaranteed to kill off the rest of it, even if it wasn't for that bad bounce. So yeah, 2 for 2 for the Oilers on the power play. Even with that, the Kraken were given more than enough chance to win this game 5-4, even 6-4. The opportunities were there. You have to score on the 5-on-3, so that's one goal they definitely should have had. They had 5 other opportunities on the power play. If they score early in that one, then they have another power play there, could score twice against an Oilers penalty kill that, yeah, I mean, I think it's more than reasonable to think the Kraken should have scored at least twice on the power play. And then at 5-on-5, I mean, I give some credit to the Oilers. Once they got the multi-goal lead, they actually started to play something that resembled defense. They weren't giving the Kraken a ton of space with the puck in the offensive end, but the opportunities were still there. They were still sloppy with the puck. They were still fairly undisciplined throughout the game at different points. This is not an Oilers team that looked like Oilers teams that should be beating the Kraken 4-0. We'll just put it that way. I mean, we've seen plenty of times where the Oilers handle the Kraken, win something like 4-0, 5-1, 6-2, whatever, and it's just well, yeah, the Kraken are nowhere near the Oilers in talent on the roster, so that's what happens when you let them play their game. In this particular case, the Oilers played the game that's gotten them to this point in the season. They were sloppy, they were undisciplined. I don't think I mentioned the power play that gives the Kraken the 5-on-3 was the Oilers having a too many men call within seconds of starting their penalty kill. They have too many men on the ice. So it was not by any stretch of the imagination a clean game from the Oilers. They just got away with it because the Kraken matched them with even more sloppiness back the other way. And unlike the Oilers, the Kraken just don't have the talent to, I guess, take advantage of that sloppiness, or maybe it's more that the Oilers do have the talent to take advantage of sloppiness from the Kraken. Sure, right now it might be 2 or 3 players, but when those 2 or 3 players are on the ice and they get chances like Draisaitl had 2 early in the first and then scores on another chance that he gets in the second, and then McDavid is given the chance he has later in the third, yeah, they're going to score. The Kraken just, it was very winnable. They just could not take advantage of anything that was handed to them on a silver platter, which is obviously frustrating in its own right, but is also frustrating for a team that, as far as the big picture is concerned, came into this game sitting 3rd in the division, and now with this loss drops out of the top 3 in the Pacific for the first time after a Kraken game in quite some time. They've kind of had this bit of a dance with either the Kings or the Golden Knights, of whichever team plays gets a point and then moves back into the top 3, knocking the other one out, and then the other one plays. So they've been outside the top 3, but every time they've played, they picked up a point and gotten back into that top 3. They now drop out of the top 3 with this loss, and it's also a pretty important loss the other way because the Oilers pick up 2 points, where, I mean, if the Kraken are going to try to get into the playoffs, if they're going to try and get one of those 3 spots in the Pacific, they got to stay ahead of one of these teams. And I mean, the Golden Knights still haven't really played, I think, all that well, at least not up to their standards so far this season. So it feels like they're going to heat up at some point. The Oilers haven't done anything to make you believe that they're going to heat up right now, But if the Kraken losing this one 4-0, and also kind of getting the Oilers into the game a bit with the big hit and then the refusal to fight allowed the Oilers to kind of find some of that. I mean, they were still sloppy and undisciplined, but they found the drive that they just haven't really shown in a lot of their games. We saw the drive definitely. They'd circled that game on the calendar against the Panthers. We saw that drive and they came away with that win. But for the most part, this has just seemed like an Oilers team that just is assuming they're going to make the playoffs and just not really caring about any of the games that they play. I don't know that they really showed that in this game until the hit that Marchment doesn't respond for, and that really, I think, gave a little bit more of a kick in the butt to the Oilers to try a little bit more in this game, and well, unfortunately that might still be the case when these teams face off again on Thursday. It's the next game for the Kraken. The Oilers have one between now and then, and with this loss, if the Kraken do not win that game against the Oilers in Edmonton on Thursday, then you'll have dropped, it's an 8-point swing then between these two games where the Kraken could end up falling behind the Oilers in the standings, which for the Kraken then it isn't hard to imagine that being the start of some kind of losing streak or cold spell for the Kraken where they're not picking up points nearly at the pace that they need to keep pace with the top of the division. Who knows how long this keeps up for the Ducks, but they're at least playing the type of hockey that's convincing that they could keep it going. For the Kraken, it's been shaky. They've been kind of just backing their way into a lot of these points via getting to overtime and then finding ways to win in overtime, or just getting the 1 point in the first place, or they have these late comebacks that win them games that look, the comeback is what it is. The Kraken have been resilient in third periods, but they've been putting themselves in a lot of those places to force comebacks. We know that they're not shooting the puck on net a lot. We know that they're not scoring a lot. 2 goals now in the last 3 games, and both of those came against the second best team in the NHL in Dallas, so go figure there. Not only that for the Kraken, but maybe even if not more importantly, on the other side, if you lose both those games to the Oilers, it could very well serve to turn their season around as well, which, depends, I suppose, somewhat on what happens in the game in between, if they go back to or if they continue to be themselves and actually pay the price for it, and then the Kraken can take advantage of it. But this could be a 2-game matchup between these two teams that helps get the Oilers going a little bit, which then not only are the Kraken headed in the wrong direction down the standings, but the Oilers, who are a team that we kind of expect to get it turned around at some point, are starting their climb up and passing the Kraken, making it that much harder for them to try and hold one of these playoff spots. Anyway, with that all having been said, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. We're just going to close this one out without stars there. I don't think there's a Kraken player that played well enough in this game to be worthy of a star. No one really shined offensively. Certainly no one shined defensively. Decor did make some very nice saves. I think he tried his best to keep the Kraken in this game, but at the end of the day, still 4 goals end up past him. He just hasn't been quite as sharp as we've seen him in the past, though. Who knows? Maybe that'll pick up at some point. The injury midway through the season may have thrown him off a little bit. I am not worried about Decor at this point by any means, especially after some of the saves that he made in this game. It's not on him, but I still wouldn't say he played well enough to be worthy of a lone star or anything in this one. So, yeah, no stars. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. And for now, we get to sit on this one now for 4 days and just hope that the Kraken can allow this to be a game that they they throw away, forget about, and maybe learn a little bit from it, I guess, and try to get things turned around with another win against the Oilers like they got early in the season. If they'd won these 2 games, they would have not only taken the season series against the Oilers for the first time in franchise history, but they would have really put themselves in a strong spot to have a playoff chance, because then you're well ahead of the Oilers in the standings. There's not really another team in the division that's likely to catch you, so you're just kind of fighting between Anaheim, Vegas, LA, and you to figure out what 3 of those 4 get playoff spots. But now with this loss, it does put a lot of importance on that game on Thursday. Until then, though, stay safe out there, be good to each other, God bless, and go Kraken. Got to figure out the special teams.